Good afternoon, everybody. Don't need microphones really. My mouth's big enough anyway. I've been told many times. Okay, so we've got Judith who's going to talk to you about retrofit. And same format. If you've got any questions, save them for the end, and then after the end. And Judith, you're coming back at 3 o'clock, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to be gobby today.
To have a chat. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm Judith Leary-Joyce. I'm a home owner and I've done a retrofit. Well, I say I had a bit of help from my husband and a whole load of builders, but I was the one that got on the computer and learned what we had to do. So we live in a bog standard Victorian terrace built in 1901. Before we did any work on the house, we were using 25,500 kilowatt hours a year to run the house and the car. Once we'd done the work, wait for it, we are using in the region of 6,000 kilowatt hours a year to run the house and the car. That's the reaction I like. Thank you. That's a 75% reduction in energy usage. And our EPC has gone from a D to a B. And we've been told that the house is worth in excess of 90,000 more than its equivalent home without a retrofit. It's all to go for. This is fantastic. And I can tell you now that we could have done better. I've learned so much since. We could have done better. But that's not all. I have been a climate worrier since the early 70s. So as soon as I realised this, I thought this is climate action at its best, because there's no sacrifice. There's nothing to lose. We are warmer than we've ever been in the 47 years we've lived in the house. We are saving a shed load of money on our bills. Our major investment is worth a lot more, and we're helping the climate as we go along. So there is really nothing to lose here. This is really exciting. Put that into the context of, it gets even more exciting, 21% of UK emissions comes from leaky homes. Every home built before 1990 needs a retrofit, and honestly, a lot of those built since 1990, and probably some even built in the year 2020, need some retrofit. Plus, 80% of the homes that we will be living in 2050 are already built. So this is it. This is what we've got. So that starts to put retrofit and energy efficiency into its place, but also it makes it fantastic climate action. But the construction industry is one of the biggest problems. Some sources say that it's 50% of the cause of climate decay. And that's because for some parts of it, we have to dig stuff up out of the earth, and we know we have got to stop digging. Every time we dig something up, we're releasing carbon, so we need not to keep digging. It's centred around the oil industry, so it uses a lot of petrochemicals. And it's a major polluter. It's polluting the air, the water, and the earth. But it's construction we need to do retrofit. But, here's another but, there are ways of doing it differently. You can do it without all of that climate damage. There's all sorts of amazing new technology. Some of it's actually you can use now. Some of it's coming down the wire very quickly. It's a really fast growing part of the industry. And a lot of the old ways of doing things are just as good, or, as you'll discover in a bit, even better. But the builders don't know anything about it. They either don't know, or they're just not really engaged with climate action, or, and I think this is probably the most likely, they just want to do what they've always done. It's worked. Why are we trying to change everything? I want to do this job, bill, and get on to the next one. Of course, there are some builders out there who are absolutely amazing and really tuned into all of this, but they're a little bit like hen's teeth at the moment. So you need to either be looking for those builders or builders who are interested in new things and new ways of working, because of all the builders I've spoken to who have used new materials, have done it in a different way, they like it. So when they try it, they like it because the materials are so much better to work with and they don't damage them in the same way that conventional materials do. So the builders don't understand this. We have got to do something about it. We are the ones that can make the difference. We are that common denominator between a construction industry that is damaging, to ways of working that aren't damaging, to builders who don't know they can work in a way that isn't damaging. The common denominator is us, the homeowners, because we've got buying power. So if we say to builders, this is what we want to do, and this is the only way we're going to do it, so if you're not going to do it our way, we're going to go somewhere else, they will eventually have to get on board and they will like it when they get there. But, final but, for us to do that, we need to be informed. We need to understand what we've got to say to the builders. We don't have to be experts, but we do need to know enough to be able to say, this is what I want and this is how I want you to do it. Because until we can do that, I can guarantee the builders will say, oh, that stuff's all well and good, but this is the way we've always done it. We know this works. And it will be very difficult to stand up to them and say, no, I'm sorry, I won't do it. So in terms of me and my climate action, I've taken this as my mission. In my old age, I'm trying to make insulation sexy. It is not an easy job, but I am doing my very best. So, I've lost my bag, here we go. As soon as we saw what results we'd got, I set about writing the beginner's guide to eco-renovation. I won't be selling for long. I wanted an easy-to-read book when we were doing all of this work, and there wasn't one. So when we'd finished, I wrote it. It's the Idiot's Guide to Retrofit, and it gives everything that you need. I got onto Instagram, I've got onto YouTube, I'm talking to anybody who will listen. My youngest daughter informed me not long ago, Mother, you are a building bore. So I thought about that for a while, thought, shall I get offended? And I thought, no, I'll embrace it. I am a building bore. I understand it. So if you've got something to do, don't start talking to me. I've just finished a book and it should be out in 2 weeks called What the Builder Won't Tell You. And I spoke to a builder here, actually, 3 weeks ago. And he said, what's the title? I said, it's What the Builder Won't Tell You. And he said, that's going to be a long book. So, so that is going to be out and it's full of all the stuff I've learned since I wrote the beginner's guide. So, the only reason for doing that is to inform us so we can be knowledgeable enough to say to the builder, this is how I want it done. So what is it we actually did to our house? Well, retrofit, I think of it as the big 5. So 2 that go together automatically, air tightness and insulation. So imagine you're going on a walk in the cold on a day, well, a colder day than this. You put on your woolly jumper, don't you? And you know that that's going to be cosy until you walk down the road, in which case the wind is going to go through the gaps in the knitting. So you need your windproof jacket. That's your air tightness membrane that you wrap around the house to cut out the uncontrolled air. So that's, in our case, it was all uncontrolled air. It was coming through the chimney, up through the floorboards, through the windows, through gaps in the mortar, through the roof. I mean, it was freezing cold. So you cut all of that out and then you put on its woolly jumper you put insulation in. But if you cut out all of the uncontrolled air, you're in trouble. If you think the Victorians, they were really cold, but they didn't have a problem with condensation and mould. We've got that now because we close out the uncontrolled air in any way that we can. So you have to put it back in. That's your ventilation. Then you're looking for what's your sustainable heating. That's your air source or your ground source heat pumps or your electric heaters in whatever way you want to do that. And finally, your renewable energy. That's your panels on your roof. If you live in an old house that is built before 1930, and some built between 30 and 40. So you've got a suspended floor, that's a big gap under your floor, and you can tell by looking at your air bricks, they're really fancy, pretty designed air bricks from the Victorians. You've got a single brick build, probably got chimneys. Then you are a breathable build. Now this is the daftest word I have ever heard in the construction world, because it's nothing to do with breathing. It's all to do with water vapour. And if you think about, you've put your airtight jacket round your house, and we're all producing moisture all the time. A family of 4 will produce 20 litres, that's 42 pints of water a day, just by living. So if you've cut out all of that air that's moving around and taking the moisture in and out, then you've got a problem with condensation and mould. This is why you see people in the press, they've got big mushrooms growing in their houses. So what the breathable build does, it uses materials that manage moisture. And as long as you keep using breathable materials on your breathable house, you won't have any problem. But if you put in a non-breathable barrier, where's all that moisture going to go? It's going to condense. So it's either going to condense in your room or in the middle of your wall. So if you're in an old house, you need to think breathability as well. So that's what it is that we do. You can do it all in one go. You can do it one room at a time. You can get in retrofit coordinators who will do a full survey of your house and tell you how you can do it cold turkey, do the lot at once, or they'll tell you how to step it out. If you want to check it out yourself, you can go on to Sustainable St Albans website and borrow the thermal imaging camera. The number of people that say to me, oh, I've thought about that, but I'm scared. I just don't want to see. This is brilliant. You just walk around your house. It won't take you more than an hour, unless you live in a castle. And what you're looking at is all the joins. Anywhere that there's joins, then you'll see where the cold air is coming in. You borrow it for free. You give us a £200 deposit. We give it you back as soon as you bring the camera back. And you just have it overnight. You can only have it in the winter because you need a 10-degree difference inside and out. But it's simple as anything to use, and it'll tell you a lot. You'll know then where you've got to start focusing your attention. So if that's all that we've got to do, that's all we've got to do. Air tightness, insulation, ventilation, then your air source or ground source heat pump and your solar. What is it the builders are doing so wrong there? So let's have a look at this. I've got my bag of samples here. I told you I was a building bore, didn't I? Do you all recognise this? You see this, don't you? If any of your neighbours are having work done and they've got a skip in the drive, you'll see this in the skip or leaning up against the side. Its generic name is PIR. I couldn't possibly pronounce what that stands for. Look it up if you want to know. The brand names, the most common brand names are Celotex and Kingspan. It is, as you can see from the way I'm holding it, it's very light. It will keep you warm in winter. It's easy to access, so you can just go down to Buttles and get some. And the builders are used to using this. They've used this for years, and most of them don't know there's an alternative. This is what they use. This is insulation. When we talked with our builder about what we were going to use, he said, but you want to use Kingspan, Judith? Come on, Judith. I'll just go and get some Kingspan. It took a lot of persuasion, but he joined us in the end and he liked it. So the problem with this is that it's made with petrochemicals. So the oil industry has to keep going to keep the builders in PIR. It's off gases. I don't know if you've heard of volatile organic compounds. You heard of these VOCs? They're all over the place. They're naturally occurring in nature. They're in all sorts of things. The more synthetic, the more risky the VOCs are going to be. And just as a side note, it's worth finding out about cleaning products. Apparently, after a good clean, the air quality in the house can be worse than standing by the side of the road. So,
I actually have to wear a mask for some of the cleaning products because my breathing will go.
There you go. So that's the VOCs. Well, VOCs come off this stuff as well. So it's coming into your house. They're not the worst. They're not the worst at all. But as it off gases, it shrinks. So you've put in your nice insulation, nice and tight, up against each other, so you don't get any air coming through, but it shrinks. So you get a gap. And if you put it on floors, if you've got old floors and you've got it underneath old floors, every time we walk on the floor is moving a bit and it starts to break up. So it really isn't great for our health. And one of the main things about it is it will keep you warm in winter. It won't keep you cool in the summer. Now, while I was writing this new book, I've really got into this. We are having hotter summers, and we're all here because we know it's going to get worse. That's why we need sustainable St Albans and to do all we're doing. This will not keep you cool in the summer. There's a wonderful measure. I absolutely love it. I don't know who came up with it. Decrement delay. Isn't that amazing? Decrement delay. What it means is, how long will it take for the temperature out there to be replicated in your house? So with this in your house, if it's a 38-degree day like we had in the summer, it will take between 1 hour and 1.5 hours before it's 38 degrees in your house. So, yeah, simple. May not be that bad. But let's start looking at some of the things that are the alternatives that the builder doesn't know about. Here's one of my favourites, hemp. If you've got your house lined with hemp and it's a 38-degree day out there, it will be in excess of 9.5 hours before your house is the same temperature, because it's got thermal mass. It's a bit obvious really, isn't it, when you look at it over this, which is light, it just can't hold it in the same way, whereas this can. So this is amazing because not only has it got a high decrement delay, it's grown up in the borders. It's just delivered from in our own country, and it grows so fast. It can be harvested twice a year. So a retrofit coordinator spoke to me recently, and she said, if you put hemp in your house, you make your house a carbon sink. I loved that, and I was really fed up because we've done our house. It was too late, but we used wood fibre. So this has the same decrement delay as this. And I was thinking, how can that work? Because they're going to cut down trees. They don't. They're using all the odds and bits from everything else we use wood for. I think they probably sweep up the bits off the floor. But this has a really high decrement delay. So both of these and all of the others will keep you warm in winter and cool in summer, and they manage moisture. So both of these and all the others will take the moisture from the air, take it into the material. It'll hold it there until it's drying out in your room, and then another nice word, it desorbs into the room. So it keeps your house a steady humidity. You can build with bricks. This is hemp. So you can actually build walls, you can build floors with this. There's different sorts of eco-friendly concrete that you can build with. This is sisal, which is very good and going to be very useful to us because it grows well in dry climates. And that equally has the same benefits. Denim, your old denim jeans, cotton t-shirts and velvet. Nice one. Equally has all the same abilities. And here's my latest. Before you go, you have to come and smell this. Oh, it's going off. I've had too many people smelling it. This is a new insulation. It's made with grass. Isn't that amazing? All the grass that they take from parks and curbsides, wherever they're mowing, they're using it, treating it, mixing it with some jute, and it's making an insulation which will keep you warm in winter, cool in summer, and manage your moisture. So endlessly recyclable. Then there are, of course, materials like one of my favourites recently is clay plaster. You would like this. You will love this. If you have a problem with humidity, then if you put on 12 mil of clay plaster, you have walked in, my dear, at exactly the right moment, because I know we spoke yesterday about Islamabad and the heat. If you have got a lot of moisture that's a problem, you strip back to the brick, you put in 12 mil of clay plaster, it will manage the moisture for you. I heard a story about a young woman who moved into a flat up north somewhere, and it was really high humidity. She was really uncomfortable. So she got humidity monitors that she put around the flat. And she was living between 70 and 80% humidity. So she put in, it was the build of the flat, she was putting in dehumidifiers, opening windows, doing everything she could. Fortunately for her, her uncle was in the building profession, but he was an informed builder. He worked with her, they stripped it all back, they put in the 12 mil, and doing nothing else, not using dehumidifiers, not using anything except the clay, her place now sits at between 50 to 60% humidity, which is the sweet spot for humans. Amazing. Just the clay plaster, because it absorbs the moisture, holds it and then desorbs. It's like keeping a level playing field all the time, so it just moves in and out the same. Lime will do it to some extent, but this was the main thing that she did. So there are all of these materials out there, just as long as we know to ask for them. They are inevitably, at the moment, they're a bit more expensive because we don't have the mass of people using them. But the more that we use them, the more they will come into common usage. And this one, you can already, this is called Pava Textile, it's brand name. You can order this from Wix. So if they can order you this, if you stick at it for long enough, they can order you anything, even a bit of grass, you never know. So it is all to go for, as long as the builders know and as long as you stick to it. But that's where we become the pivot. We can make the difference if we say what we want and we hold them to the line. But you need to know enough. John and I lived in our house while they were doing it, and we would go round each evening checking out what they'd done, and they would come in the next morning and okay, what have I got to do again? What have I done wrong this time? But we found a builder who would work with us, so a flexible builder is really important. The other thing then is the air source heat pump, and I'm sure you'll have read the media about this. So what is it they say about them then? They're too noisy, they're too expensive, they won't keep your house warm, the neighbours will complain. Any others? Anything I've forgotten? Sorry?
Too big.
Too big, yeah. Ugly things. You have to change all your radiators, you have to change your pipe work. The list goes on. This is what the media says. If you are thinking about an air source heat pump, please stop reading the media and go and talk to somebody that's got one. I haven't spoken to anybody that's got one that isn't happy with it. There is even a website set up called Visitor Heat Pump. So people will invite you into their houses to talk to you and show you and listen to the heat pump. I run an open house session for Sustainable St Albans second Saturday of every month. You can book on through the website, and I do it just in the winter so that people can come in and they can hear the heat pump and they can feel the warmth and they can see how much room it takes up in the house. There are 2 problems with heat pumps I've worked out. Very real problems. The first one is there are not enough installers who understand how to install them and set them up accurately enough. So that is a big problem. So if you're thinking about it, I would suggest go onto YouTube, Heat Geek. They have a brilliant channel with everything you could want is filmed there, and Adam Chapman, who started, is talking about it. So you can do your research on heat pumps on Heat Geek. They also have trained people, and as far as I understand it, these are the best trained installers. I don't get anything from them. This is just what I've learned, that they really understand heat pumps. And we've got heat geeks in this area, so you can find a heat geek on. Just go and have a look. But get other estimates as well. But have a look at Heat Geek so you're informed, so you can have the conversation. Because there's really simple things like, well, simple. We didn't do all of these. We still haven't got it quite right in our house. We've got thermostats. You don't need thermostats around the house with a heat pump. In fact, it makes the efficiency worse. We've got those little pumps on the manifold, whatever a manifold is, I don't know. All sorts of things that have been set up that actually make the efficiency worse because it just isn't known. It's like retrofit overall. It's not understood enough yet. So we need lots of really good installers. The other big problem with heat pumps, I'm sorry to say, is us. It's the way we use them. Because we get a heat pump in and people think, okay, I'm being really good now. And then they get the first bills and they think, well, this isn't any better. I'm no better off than I was before. And it's cold. And people do have these problems. It's because they're running a heat pump like a gas boiler. You know how we run the gas boiler? We have it on the thermostats. It goes run, 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 gets it warm before we get up in the morning, and then it goes off as a rest all day, and then it run, 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 and gets it warm for us to come home. That is not the way you run a heat pump. The gas boiler can do that because it runs at a flow temperature of 65 degrees. A heat pump runs at a flow temperature of 40 degrees. So it's slow. It's like a marathon runner. You just have to let it run on in its own way. So you have it running low and slow, but you put everything on. So it's counterintuitive. You know, I want to save some money. I want the house to be warm. I turn the pump down and I turn everything on. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, does it? But it is the way that it works. So it runs at a low temperature. If you come to an open house, when you walk on the wooden floor with the underfloor heating underneath, you don't particularly notice that it's on. You think it's comfortable. When you step off it, you think, blimey, that's cold. But it's a low heat and it runs constantly. And because your house, it heats the air like the gas boiler does, but then it heats the fabric of the house, which then heats the air. And it just goes on, and it feels different. The house itself feels different. It sort of wraps itself around you. It's a very different warmth. So we have to learn, we have to change our mindset and learn how to use the heat pump, and then it works. We have to get out of its way. It has a function called weather compensation. You switch that on and it will adapt to the outside air. So if you leave it alone, if it's set up right and you leave it alone, it won't be a problem. So those are two of the big things that we have to understand about. The third one is ventilation. If you've already done your house and you've already got the blessed PIR in, and a lot of us have, then don't panic. You may need to get a bit of cooling in the summer, but the main thing that you need to do is put in ventilation, because this can't manage the moisture like the hemp and the wood fibre and the grass can. The moisture will just sit on the insulation on the wall that the insulation is in, and any sitting water, any sitting moisture is going to invite mould. So you have to keep the ventilation really high. So if you have a house that is filled with PIR, make sure you're looking at ventilation. And here's another one. Don't listen to the builder on this. I don't know if we have builders here. I always feel a bit rude, but I haven't yet spoken to a builder who said, excuse me. They generally agree with me, which is interesting. But trickle vents will not be enough. If your house is full of PIR, trickle vents are not enough. They're the building regulations, that's all we have to have in, but they're not enough on their own because it's passive air, if you think about it. Unless there's a wind outside, it's just the air that's gradually going to filter in. And think about something that isn't managing moisture plus that 42 pints that a family will produce in a day and a trickle vent, it just doesn't add up, does it? But there's all sorts of ways of managing that. You can get single room heat recovery units, whole house heat recovery ventilation systems. There's all sorts, but you do need to pay attention to it. So I think I've gone on. I've befuddled you enough for now. I'm happy to take questions, anything you want to know now, and I'm going to be talking with Duncan from the greenhouse about a retrofit assessment at 3 o'clock. So that we can talk more about it then if you want to. But has any of it made sense? Have you got any questions? Yes.
I've got one question.
Hang on, let me just take this gentleman, I'll come to you.
Back in, I think about 2005, there was a big scheme about insulating houses, and they came around to our place and they blew in this kind of fluff, and I don't know what it was.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But would it have been the hemp? Or?
Unlikely.
Right.
Unlikely. Most likely, I think, would be polystyrene in some way. Or,
It's like wool, though.
okay, so it might be cellulose,
Right. Okay.
which is great. Cellulose is fine. One way that the thermal imaging camera can help you work out how is it doing, so that's what 15 years ago, 20 years ago, is to just scan your walls, because sometimes it slumps. Especially if it's blown in so there's a lot of air in it, it could slump a bit, in which case you're not as well insulated as you think you are. And I think there are people that will blow more in. And nowadays they do blow, there's a lot more stuff they can blow in that is better.
Right. So I could have it redone and blow in the hemp.
I think so. I don't know whether they use hemp like that. They, I can't think offhand, but there's 2 or 3 things that they can blow in that is much better. If you're wanting hemp, you're probably better putting it on your wall, on the inside wall. So you can insulate internally or externally. Yeah. And even if you're in a house that isn't pre-1930 and it isn't a breathable build, you're still better with these materials because of the way they'll manage the moisture.
It's 1930s house.
Okay, okay. So if it isn't enough, so you must be sort of mid-30s if you've got a cavity wall. That's interesting. You must have been one of the early cavities. I'm an early cavity. Yeah, so yes, borrow the camera and have a look, see how you're doing. Yeah. Oh, sorry, this lady was next on to you. Thank you, I forgot.
I'm in a 4-bed house and we had the British gas engineer come out. I did mention heat pumps to him. And at that time he said they couldn't cope with the size of house, 4-bed house and all that. Have things changed? Is that a myth? I'm just wondering what's going on with them.
Well, I hate to be so cynical, but he works with gas boilers. Of course they can. They can definitely work. I was invited recently to visit Lambeth Palace. Do you know the home of the Archbishop of Canterbury? It is huge and it's 800 years old and it's heated on heat pumps. So if the AFC can do it, I think you can. One thing about a heat pump is that it's the coefficient of performance. So if you put £1 worth of energy into a gas boiler, you get about 70p's worth of energy out. If you put £1 worth of energy into an air source heat pump, you get between £3 and £4 worth of energy out. So it's a SCOP, seasonal coefficient of performance, of 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. So phenomenal. What it means now is, because electricity is priced so much higher than gas, you probably will be about equal. Once they sort out the ridiculous pricing of energy, then you'll be quids in. But some systems like the Heat Geek, sorry to witter on about them, but they are very innovative, and they've just brought out a new way of installing heat pumps, and they can put them in for less than the price of a gas boiler. But they will do a very thorough survey of your house and say exactly what you need. And they also guarantee a SCOP of 1 to 3.3. And if you don't get it, they track your house afterwards. If you don't get it, they say they'll come back and do anything your house needs to get you to 1 to 3.3. They've never had to do it, but that's their guarantee. So yes, you can definitely do it in a 4-bedroom house.
I think I'm just going to carry on from this, because I don't know if it was 2005 or earlier, there was a council scheme and we got somebody to do insulation in it. It was a 1950s house,
Yeah.
with cavity. And the chap who came, he said, I use beads.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what the beads are, but I think what we've also had is damp coming down through our concrete gutters, which needed relining. The concrete gutters go over the cavity.
Okay.
And I think, we've got moisture in our walls, and I imagine all these beads soaking wet, having gone down. We've had the gutters relined, we've got that.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what you said maybe hemp added in.
Well, you'd need to know where your damp is coming from. Have you got damp-proof course in the house?
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes what the damp-proof course does, it just pushes the moisture up. So it'll be in the bit of the wall that hasn't got the damp-proof course in it. So whether it's coming down or up, you'd need somebody to take a look at that. If it's beads, it might be glass beads. Glass beads are great. We've got a glass bead floor in our garden barn, and that's so it's recycled glass. It can be lifted up and used again if you want to, and it's the air can move around it. So it could be glass, or it could be, what was the other? So polystyrene beads, of course, but there was something else. Oh, sorry, it's gone. It'll come back to me. But I would suggest that you get in maybe a retrofit coordinator. So they are trained to something called PAS 2035, which is a government standard for retrofit for social housing. But it's a good measure for all of us. We don't have to adhere to it with private housing, but it's a very good measure, and they're trained to that. So they will do a very thorough assessment and then tell you what you could do about it.
Do you have information about who are?
Yes. You can always contact me. I've got a card to anybody. Take a card, get in touch with me. As I've said, this is my mission. As long as you can bear with the building bore, I will help. Yes. Yes.
What about mineral wool or rock wool? Is that a good alternative to your? That's what I've done.
It sort of comes in between. Rock wool is really good on fire, so it has to go in a lot of commercial buildings. They don't have a choice. These are actually all very good on fire. Our builder was very worried about the wood fibre, so we said, OK, come on, get your matches out. And we try to set it alight. And what it does is it chars on the outside, so it makes like a scab almost. But you also have to rate it in its whole system. It's not just the material, it's the whole wall system. So they are good for fire. But rock wool is required by building standards in some buildings. It's only about 50% of the decrement delay of the natural fibres. And you've got to dig.
It's better than PIR.
It's better than PIR, but it's not as good as something like a hemp or a wood fibre. And we still have to dig it. It's got to be dug out the ground. So I'd prefer...
A lot of people, as you said about price earlier, a lot
Yeah.
of people think this is very expensive. PIR is cheap.
Yes.
So
That's right.
but Rockall is somewhere in between.
It is. It is. Yeah. I mean, it's all.
PIR, but not good.
That's right. All these things you've got to work out what can you do, and I think I tend to think if you can retrofit one room at a time or the whole house, doesn't matter, do it. If you can only do it with PIR and you accept that it's not going to give us some of the benefits we're looking for, do it. If you can only do it with Rockall, do it. If you can possibly do it with these materials, it's going to be better for you, for the home, for the environment, for everything. And if those of us that can do it, then that's going to start to bring the price down. And if we keep telling builders about it and informing builders, I feel like we've just got to keep chugging on with this. But there's much more of this that is within our gift, because it's my house. This is the way that I want it done. And our builder he didn't know anything about this. But if it came down to it, we'd have all the discussions. He would work out, do I think it will work? Is it safe? Am I happy to put it in? Okay, it's your house. I'm going to do it your way. But now he's done another build. He built a house from scratch as a project himself, and it's really well insulated and it's airtight. I did say, and how are you ventilating it, Pete? And he said, I didn't think I'd bother. I've got trickle vents. Oh, God. Pete, there's a very good book written about this. Go and read it. But the more we go with the builders, the more it's going to come down in price. But yeah, it's a very difficult one. It's a bit like there was in the conversation about air travel, you know. While a flight is cheap, people can't afford to go on the train, but, you know, we've just got to keep batting away. Sorry, I'll come back to you. Judy, go on.
Okay, people in this room will probably remember that this college, in part, grew out of what used to be the college building in St Albans. Okay? Partly as a result of that, the building and construction courses were in part transferred here to the new build and developed as the building developed. Before I came along today, Judith, I had a look at their website and had a look at their courses in construction and building and carpentry and everything else. Not once can I see words like eco-friendly, retrofit, environmental considerations, nothing. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about builders of today being pretty unaware of what we need to do, how on earth can we, you, Susvest, anybody else that has any sort of influence, start talking to the people that's providing courses for our young people to get them equipped for the building industry of the future and start understanding the sort of stuff that, my God, you, as a wonderful, amazing advocate for all of it, know, because you've found out. These kids can find out.
Yeah, of course they
only
can.
If we're actually able to influence who provides the education for them.
Yeah.
It's got a beautiful website. It looks fab. It's very informative. It's got lots of good stuff on it. Not one single mention of retrofit, eco-friendly, sustainability, or any of the sorts of words that come out of your mouth so eloquently.
It's very interesting, because I was here last night at we did a fashion show. We had a fashion show from the fashion students, and everything they had made was made with stuff from the charity shops. Yeah. It was all sustainable. And the chief executive spoke to us, and this is the building. Yeah. It's fueled by heat pumps. And they say it's an eco build. So unfortunately, I didn't get to him in time, but I will be doing that now I've been here. And anybody that knows anybody, talk to them. I think we just got to keep talking about this. And especially when we can say, look, this is in our own interests. Why wouldn't we be doing this stuff? It's absolutely blindingly obvious, but there are so few builders that understand it. And we have got to get to the training. So yes, thank you, Judy. I will find the chief executive. Yes.
Does this building have underfloor heating?
I don't know. Has anybody got to take their shoes off easily?
Seeing whether there are any radiators.
Yes, it probably. Oh, this is. Yes, this is all insulated, so they must have or blown air.
I was going to ask you that, Judith. When you put in a heat pump, do you have to have underfloor heating? Is it short-sighted not to do that? And is it okay if you've got a mix of floors as well? Is it still, very doable?
We've got both. If you think about it's running at a low temperature, so you need a lot of heated surface to keep your house warm. So underfloor heating is ideal. But, we've got it through the bulk of our downstairs, but we've got carpet in the front room, and I didn't want a front room without carpet, so we've got a radiator in there. We've got radiators upstairs. So I think you can do either. It used to be that you had to have big radiators, and that was one of the complaints. I think it depends how well insulated your house is. So a heat pump can heat any house, just like a gas boiler can heat any house. It's just going to cost you more money. There's no difference between them. I always think it's a strange question, will it heat my house? We just used that we can whack the boiler up, but now we don't want to spend more money. We don't want to do that. It's the same difference. So if your house is well insulated, I think you won't need to change your radiators. If it isn't, then you might need bigger radiators, but why not insulate your house first, then put in your heat pump, if your boiler's okay. Yeah, good.
Thank you, Liz. It's been very, very interesting. I've taken over from Vaughan, because you might be aware that someone introduces the talk, and it's now me, Claire, who's going to be your compere. So thank you very much, Judith. It's been very, very interesting indeed. As you say, you'll be back here, I think, at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I'm back somewhere. I don't know where I'm
well,
going.
As far as I know, Judith is back at 3 o'clock, and if there are more questions, you're very welcome to ask them there.
Oh. Can I just say, if anybody wants to read a sample chapter from What the Builder Won't Tell You, just zap this and you'll get it. I've got these. If you get it from me, it goes to Sustainable St Albans, all the costs. If you get it from Tricia at the greenhouse in the other room, then it all goes to the greenhouse. So up to you. Or you can just go onto Amazon and get it. So, and pass the word out. Talk to everybody. Let's just get the word out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.